Okay, well, it is 6:30, so I want to welcome everybody here to the coaches call this week. And we will get started with any questions anyone has.
You're either talking on mute or this is an amazing week of a tournament and nobody's asking questions.
Right.
I had a quick question about the judges room. So we've had a flu going through our school district for the last 2 weeks. We think we're past it. My question is, what is allowable should one of our team members go down with the flu relatively close to the event? We're doing it on Sunday. What are the rules about the pieces of the script or the presentation that those individuals would typically do, but they can't because they aren't there? Is the rule, if they're going to present their stuff, it has to be on a Zoom, or is there another medium we can bring in? What are our options?
Well, if you brought in Zoom, you'd have to set it up yourself. Assuming you're supposed to give a live presentation, right? But that doesn't mean a component of it couldn't be a recording. So you could do, takeaways to, pretend you're in say your script's like a movie or a newscast or something like that. You could do a remote with somebody on the thing. But you could find some creative way where the other kids. The other thing I've seen happen is the other team members pick up the lines.
Okay, so it sounds like it's pretty flexible, but there is no tried and true requirement in that case. Yes? Is there any explanation that needs to be given to the judging panel if that case does occur?
Well, I think it's beneficial for them to know that the kids are working, a person down, and that they're covering for the person.
Okay.
Or if you're doing it through a Zoom or whatever, that the person's sick and, those kinds of things.
One idea that my team has run into a similar problem a couple different times, but one time they actually had a picture of the kid who was missing. She had a out-of-state funeral, so they had a tiny bit of extra warning with that, but they actually put her lines on the back of her picture, so she was there in spirit, and they had her lines handy, so another kid that wasn't super familiar with her lines could fill in for her, and it kind of worked all out well that way too. So that's an idea.
Oh, that's a great idea, because then they don't have to worry about the technology. Thanks, Peggy. That's really helpful.
Yep.
Are there any other questions?
I had a question. I don't, maybe you've already responded in Slack and I hadn't seen it, but the consent form on the very bottom, it said, click here if you would like a thing that said that you had completed this, an email. And I clicked that and nothing came back to me. So I'm hoping they all went through. I don't know if I did something wrong.
Did you check your spam folder? That's the only thing I can think of.
Well, that email, nothing ever seems to go to spam. I don't even have a spam folder existing. So,
okay.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else had that, if there's some weird fluke this year, or if it's just me, or.
No, I had issues with the form as well. I might have submitted ours for our family about 4 or 5 times. So sorry about that. But eventually the email did come back. So I do have a final copy for the kids and me, but I did have to submit it multiple times because it seemed to go into some weird state.
Oh, that's
last year my son is on my team, but my wife is the one that kind of do the form on his behalf. Last year she needed to do that probably 4 or 5 times until it actually went through in different days.
So I guess Peggy, if you didn't get the email, there's a possibility that you might have to do it again. If you didn't get the email.
Good to know. Good to know. That wasn't too hard to do, so I can do it again.
I'll check the form tomorrow too to see if I'm getting multiple entries.
Are you able to check the form, just confirm that if it did not come through and let them know?
Mm-hmm.
Because if she does it again and it still doesn't come through, that's not going to help her. So
No, it's not.
I guess what is the procedure then? We show up this weekend, and then what? Like what happens now? Because we submitted all of our stuff for First Online that we can
Mhm.
see. The stuff for Badger Bots we can't see. So are the people checking us in going to have some kind of a roster of people by team that for them to check against, or are we just honor systeming the release?
The release is an honor system at this point, yes. Because the one from first we know is being done, and our understanding is that all teams are going to also do the one that I've put out through the newsletter. So that's what we are doing this year.
Okay, and then in years past, we could not enter the venue until the entire team was present. Is that a by venue thing, or is that standard practice?
Jeff, do you know what that practice is?
That may have been something with COVID that we wanted the team to enter at the same time as a group. That generally has not been a requirement.
Okay, so if that's the case, then if I have some kids that are coming later than other kids, that's okay. They don't all have to arrive at the exact same time to gain entry, is what I heard you say, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Jen, I just texted Eric to see what he says. He's the tournament director. You guys are at Marquette, right?
yes, correct.
Yeah, I just texted him a second ago. We'll see if he has anything, but I've never heard of that being a requirement.
That was more of a COVID thing, I
Yeah,
think,
I
about
think so,
not
too.
having people.
Okay.
Limiting how many people were in the building and just kind of.
Yeah, which is fine. It's just if it's a requirement, then depending, the schedule is supposed to come out today, he had said. So if we have a later time, then I wanted to make sure that I understand what the restrictions were, basically. Although we've never had a later time, so it probably doesn't matter for our team ultimately.
I know he was working on the tournament schedules. I saw a what do you call it?
Draft.
Yeah, I saw a draft on whatever Saturday or whatever it was. So I know he was working on it.
Brian, at the scrimmage, I know you said that, I think you said that they had the ornaments available, but I was more interested in bratwurst than ornaments. Do you have a picture that you can share? Sorry, I was really hungry that day. Do you have a picture that you can share of the ornaments that your first team has?
Not handy, but I can get one probably tomorrow. We
Okay,
actually have two designs. We just came up with a new design since the scrimmage. There's one that's kind of like last year with the circle.
Mhm.
And then there's one that's shaped like a battery.
okay, awesome.
So Eric Schultz is coming to the call. I just have to send him the link real quick. So anybody that has any Marquette questions, that may be a good opportunity for you guys.
I did just fill out the electronic consent and release form myself. First time I tried submitting it, I didn't realize that I'd missed one of the mandatory fields. So it returned me back to the form. And it wasn't entirely obvious to me at first why, but then I saw that it highlighted where I'd missed filling out that I was over age 18. But when I did finally correct that and submit, I did get a email response with a copy of the form and the information I filled out. Arrived 30 seconds later in my email box. So I'm not sure what the problem is.
I will say I just tried it again and I put myself to my AOL address and that one did not come through. And then I did one of my kids to a Gmail and that one did send me the response.
Okay.
Okay.
The problem is, I think they got rid of AOL accounts like 10 years ago.
I
didn't
know, I know.
they? That's the problem.
I usually don't tell people that address because that's the flack I get for it. But I like that one.
I joined in, Jay.
So, anybody with any Marquette tournament director questions? Eric Schultz is here. He's the tournament director there. Jen, I kind of texted him your question, but you're free to ask again if you'd like, so you can answer it.
Yeah, so Eric, my question was, last year, we weren't allowed entry into the venue until all of our team members and parents were together. Is that still a practice for this year for Marquette, or is that no longer a requirement?
Last year that was a COVID protocol, because they wanted the team to travel together and check in together. That is not the requirement this year. So, and nor was it prior years. So it was, although we do recommend it, we're taking team photos during check-in. So if you can have everybody there, it's nice, but it isn't required.
Okay, and then my second question there, Eric. I've forgotten my second question, Eric. I'll come back to you. I had a second
All right.
question for you. Oh, I know why. So last year we had rotating pit tables. This year, will there be 20 or 24 pit tables and you keep your pit table the entire time, or is it only your pit table for part of the day?
Pit tables will be like previous years. Last year was very unique, so we're hoping not to repeat that. But no, previous years you get a pit table at the beginning of the day and it's yours throughout the day. So and that will be the way it's done this year. Every team will have their own table.
Okay, great. And just so that the families understand what they're walking into on Sunday, will there still be food available for purchase in the cafeteria, or should they brown bag their own food?
Both days, Core Robotics is hosting our concession areas. So they've been told both days are the same size for us, Saturday and Sunday. So they're going to be running concessions in our commons area, and then they also feed my 200 some volunteers. So yeah, they will be there. Does that answer your question?
Yep, I'm just trying to get them all out before I forget them for this weekend. They're gonna ask, so.
Yeah, I don't know what the menu is, but it's traditionally they did ask if we wanted some vegan options or vegetarian options, and I said yeah, it would make sense because even my team members, so we have 80 some kids on our team for the Hilltopper Robotics, and all of our students are required to participate and their parents, so or guardian, so they'll be there as well. So yeah, there will be a number of different options. You can bring in food. Some areas don't allow that. I'm fine with it as long as you eat it in designated areas and not in the gym, in our commons area. So it's not uncommon for people to order pizzas and have them delivered, or bring in their own cooler with food in it. But we try to keep food in the pit area, which is our gymnasium, to a minimum. So.
Okay, so just to confirm, where are the tables? Are they still in the auditorium?
No, our tables, our pit tables.
No, like the robot tables.
They're in the auditorium, like
Okay.
previous years. Yeah.
Okay, so no food. So the food has to be consumed in the whatever the
In our-
commons area is with the
Yeah,
long
which is
food.
the kind of area, commons area. So we don't want it in the gym just because it can make a mess.
Yep.
And I would also caution teams not to bring any carts or anything like that into the gym area. They had floor damage previous years, and so they're actually putting on a protective service for us this year. So you can bring things in, but I know the use of carts has kind of gone away. I know it's not even allowed at the competition table now. So.
Okay. And then as far as these competitions this time, everything was very scheduled last year. And I'm trying to remember from a couple of years ago, because the year before we all did it in our basement. But the practice tables, are those scheduled? Do we need to sign up on a schedule?
No,
for those?
You would need to sign up for those. They're not scheduled. So it's going to be like traditional years prior to COVID. It's a first come, first serve, and you get to sign up for time slots. I believe you can only sign up for 1 or 2 time slots at a time. You can't just dominate and sign up for all of them. So,
Okay.
We should, if you guys haven't thought about it yet, Eric, we should prioritize earlier teams as well somehow.
as far as for the pit table,
for practice tables, because now we have teams that start at,
yeah, and actually, robot is going to start right at 8:30 too. So,
yeah, I guess that's what I mean. So if there's some way to, I don't know how we could weight the sign in for practice tables.
I can tell the pit admin to give preference to teams that are up first.
Yeah.
Within the first hour. After that,
Sure.
but yeah, I can pass that word along to our pit admin. So
Would the schedule only be available when teams get there? To know if they're
We
going to
will-
do robot first or what?
So the schedule is actually going to be emailed out to coaches tonight. I still have to finish creating. They actually been formalized, so I just have to create the general team schedule. We will be handing out schedules also at check-in. So if there's any last-minute changes, but at this point, I'm not accepting any team name changes or anything like that. So midnight on Sunday was my last day for those type of changes. So. Yeah, so we'll be submitting, all coaches will get a copy of the team schedule, detail schedule this evening. But we'll also be handing that out at check. We'll have extra copies for guests and stuff like that. So.
And I just want to jump in here real quick. So I will be posting this video up tonight. So people going to tournament this weekend will be able to see it if they can't attend the call. And I just want to make clear that, so Eric is speaking on behalf of Marquette tournaments, and he doesn't necessarily speak for Lakeshore or Madison. So anything that he's directly addressing as an answer to a direct question is pertaining to Marquette only.
Yep. The best tournament.
Are
biased.
there any restrictions to, I'm assuming the answer is no, but I'm gonna ask anyway. Are there any restrictions for people coming in off the street to kind of come see the event?
Nope.
Okay.
So this is a first event, and intentionally first makes it open to the public. We do expect the media to be there as well. So Channel 12 and a few others. We usually send a press release out, and it's not uncommon for them to make a visit. Not sure on which day yet, but yeah, no, it's open to the public.
I'll circle back around one time to something before Eric got here. I don't know if this pertains to you or not, Eric, but they were asking about the permission forms from BadgerBots.
That I've been told those are required during check-in.
Okay, so if they don't have them, will we have some hard copies there?
We will have copies available for a fill out there.
Perfect.
So we just need obviously a parent or guardian or a coach to act as a proxy to do that. We've done that in the past. So it's not uncommon. We do need those permission slips. It's a photo release. It's a few other things. But, Debbie's here, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, they addressed this before.
Okay.
I didn't know if you needed something specifically. It was kind of an honor system type of deal was the conversation earlier, but
No, we also need the team printout as well. Is that correct, Debbie?
Correct.
So we need the team roster, which is from the first.
Sorry, I just missed all that. We had other stuff going around in the house. So you're saying that I need to have a printout of the submitted roster on first, and then also a printout of the BadgerBot form?
So we need hard copies of both the roster and then everybody's individual
How
Badger,
do you get the Badger bot print out? Because we
Yeah, that's
submitted
the
form and
problem.
that
We
appears, right?
didn't- Yeah, unless they had it emailed to themselves, do you just want to have them resend it to themselves or what? Or Debbie, is there a way to get like a roster at the front desk where we could check against that from the master form database?
I'll have to look into that and see if there's a way to, get a roster sent over to Eric so that he has it. And I think I should be able to get some of that information and then I can email it over to Eric. Probably on Friday is what I'm thinking, so that you have the most updated copy.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise, I'm assuming what the coach will bring, they'll have matching forms to that. That's usually what we're going to check is that everybody on the roster list has a form. So we're going to usually just do a quick count. If there's 8 kids on the team, we're going to hopefully see 8 forms.
So on the first
We're not-
Inspires,
Matching in check-in, I don't know that we're going to be trying to match name for name. That'll slow down the whole check-in process. We don't want to do that, but we're going to make sure, and then we'll spot check if we're missing some. We're going to figure out who's missing and figure out how to get those filled in.
on the first Inspires, we had consent release form for all the kids and coaches as well. So that's one of printouts as we always have. And then with BadgerBot, that's at least first time that I ever saw that in this year. So is that for the kids as well, or is it only for coaches and helpers?
It is for both. It is for everyone. So every person that is attending, it is
So
it is for everyone.
Okay, so you need to send that to the parents, so the parents fill out that on behalf of their kids, and then somehow we'll be able to print that later. That you figure out for us how to do it.
Do you want to send me that tonight, the blank form? I think actually it's on the tournament director's site, right? I can include that in the schedule that we send out, so they have a copy if they need it.
That's probably a great idea.
Yeah, that way they can print their own out before they. Obviously, as a previous coach myself, it's nice to just have all that paperwork prepared before you leave for the venue. If you guys can have it paper clipped all together and just hand it to us in a packet, that's the most ideal.
Eric, I'm going to see if I can get that for you right now and then get that.
Yeah.
over to you.
I thought it was posted to the tournament director's site if it wasn't, but I can definitely add it to my email communication to all the coaches tonight. So, and just as a reminder, but my main purpose tonight is to get the overall schedule out. There'll be probably another email blast to coaches in a day or two, just to kind of any follow-up items. But usually the thing we send out tonight is the schedule, the overall schedule, the team schedule, the map of the venue, where to park, where to enter. We usually do some other just information about the day, kind of general rules. We'll include that.
If we wanted to bring our own mat and models, is there space to put that out on a floor somewhere or heavily discouraged?
No, I'm going to prohibit that.
Okay.
We have to do that, but then they end up causing fire hazard issues. They're blocking doors or pathways. We have the practice tables there for a reason. That we really want you guys to use that. If so just setting the mat out in the general open areas is what causes those issues. So we generally we'd prefer you didn't. Your best experience, frankly, is going to be on the practice tables, because on the floor is not going to reproduce your environment much like an actual practice table.
Is the form that we're talking about the BadgerBots roster? Teams should bring a roster printed from first with them. In addition, please sign online with the. Okay, I have that link if you guys want me to put that in So just to be clear, it's the Badger Bots volunteer participant consent and release.
Correct.
Okay, I will put that in chat right now, and we will also, Eric will send the hard copy out with, I'm sorry, an electronic copy out with the schedule. Okay, any other questions directly for Eric? I don't know how long you have, Eric. Are you here with us for the duration, or are you?
I was gonna just sit back and listen. I can answer questions that
Okay,
come up. I'm just cooking dinner.
cool. Well, if we see smoke, we'll let you go.
Yeah, that's right. I'm just cutting up chicken right now. So.
Nice. Hey,
We are participating in the tournament at in Madison and have some similar questions. Does anybody on here have any information about when we might find out what time that we're presenting?
Just emailed Max today and let him know that I have everything ready for him, but I have not heard back yet. So I do not know when he is releasing that information, but it should be, I would think, either today or tomorrow.
Great. And this is our first tournament. We were wondering how it works, like if there's families who want to watch, how that might work. Does anyone know how that might work at the Madison location?
I'm not sure that we have an absolute representative here from Madison. Is that the case?
Sorry, can you repeat what the question was for Madison?
We have everybody's their first tournament, and so parents are trying to figure out kind of how the day works and how they could watch the students and that kind of logistics.
Spectators are allowed all day long. I mean, as far as the specific times that your team will be competing, you'll have to wait for the schedule to be sent out. The tournament director there should be getting that out soon.
Great. The other question we had that maybe is more universal, I'm not sure, is kind of what the day looks like for teams. We have a loose schedule, but it's hard to picture like the flow, what the teams will be doing. We've got a bunch of 10-year-olds, so it can be kind of exciting to think about having them all together in a chaotic environment for 8 hours.
So the schedule, the way it's set up is that some of the teams will be going through their judging sessions in the morning, while the other half of the teams are doing their 3 robot competition rounds. And so it'll depend upon the team. So your team might come in and do its 3 robot rounds in the morning, and then in the afternoon go through your judging session, or you might be the other way around, that you do judging in the morning and your robot rounds in the afternoon. And so once the schedule comes out, you'll see that.
Great, that's helpful.
If there were multiple hours between those two, do teams just hang out? Would we leave and all go get lunch together? Again, just thinking about keeping all these kids entertained.
So what I found because I've coached since the kids were 9, and they're now all different ages because we added and subtracted some members, but they're gonna get exhausted in the middle of this thing. And so I have some kids who just want to take a nap against a backpack. And then I have some who go like completely wild. So you might want to encourage the parents to bring some kind of ball or blanket or however they think their kid's going to react, so that if they need some quiet space, they can find a corner and take a quick nap, potentially. But the first year we did it, we did encourage people to leave and then come back just so that they would reset before the afternoon activities. But it really does depend on how your team is scheduled throughout the day, because you don't want them to leave and not come back on time. So I talk about it with your team and create a plan once you have the schedule, and set expectations about when those parents will return back with those kids, so that you aren't panicking going into judging and 2 of the families haven't shown up yet. Does that make sense?
Definitely. And then last year was our first year, and we, heard rumors about parades and stuff prior to COVID. So is that stuff now all returning?
Eric, I don't know if you missed that one, but as far as Marquette, are you doing opening ceremonies and parades, stuff like that, all that?
Yeah, we are doing part of that, not all of those events. So we definitely are doing a full closing ceremony. And actually we have, there's a certain amount of time from when the robot games finish to where the judge deliberations happen. And that's about an hour to an hour and a half process. We do have my students are working on a program to present and actually make it interactive with the kids. And we do that in our inner auditorium. So it is more comfortable setting than sitting on bleachers in a gym. So, but we do plan to kind of, do that type of program. We not sure yet on an opening ceremony yet. I'm still kind of working. There will be an opening ceremony and a, pledge, what am I thinking? The
National anthem.
Yeah, national anthem, correct. We'll do that type of thing. It'll probably just be an announcement. I usually do it really brief because in the morning everybody's just getting situated on what they have to do. So everybody's getting involved, whether it's a robot game or a judging session, within. So those type of announcements. We usually have a break at noon. We're definitely having a lunch break around noon time frame exactly. I don't have that lockdown in front of me right now, but there'll be a break for that. Our doors will open for teams at, I believe, at least 45 minutes before those sessions begin. So we'll be checking teams in and then getting them in, giving them time to get situated at their tables, and then queuers will come and pick up teams or call them to our queuing area, and then you'll be escorted basically either to your robot game or to your judging session. So we actually have, that's normally how we do that. So that's kind of how that works from there. So you'll be called kind of up to the queuing area 15 minutes prior to your event. And basically the queuers will take you from the queuing area to your event. Does that make sense?
I think that the schedule we have now lends itself to be a little bit more entertainment for the kids than it used to be with all day, judging in the morning and robot games in the afternoon. Because now, basically all day they'll have robot games they can go watch and walk through the pits, and of course it's going to be a long day regardless, but at least if there's something going on, there's something they can go do, right? So I think it might be
element too from a coach's standpoint. The teams definitely get a chance to interact with each other.
Yeah.
We also guaranteed in the schedule that the teams have an hour or between robot sessions to iterate. So if they're doing their 3 robot rounds, they're definitely they'll have an hour to come back and make a change, do whatever. That's actually part of the program. So we want to encourage that process. So Jay and I speaking from firsthand coach experience, those times where the teams had to adjust code or do something for elements, we had to. That's really valuable time, and the kids learn a lot too during that iteration process. So, yeah, so we definitely promote that in the schedule. So there are things to do throughout the entire day. I know our Hilltopper Robotics is actually going to be running a community event. So they'll be showing off some of our robots, letting the kids drive them, do things like that. So there are all types of things to do, whether it's see other teams and their presentations or watch the robot game or get a snack or the day kind of blows by. It does get long at the end, I'll be honest. And a lot of kids get tired. But it is a well organized day, and the kids really do seem to have a good time. So
Just one clarification. You said see other kids' presentations. You mean robot games?
Presentations at their table or at
Okay. Gotcha.
They're not standing in a judging room with them. I didn't mean that.
Yeah.
I meant being able to walk. It was pretty common. Our kids, we would encourage them to go see other teams and see their projects and see exactly how much work they put into it. And yeah, I mean, it's so they get an idea of what their competition looks like.
Oftentimes teams will have display boards and stuff at their pit to show off their project. A lot of times it's just the materials that they use as part of their presentation. But the kids can go over and talk to the other teams about all aspects. I mean, robot, programming, project.
Okay, I'll give
core values.
some of the teams that haven't been to the old style tournaments a little bit of advice. So when there are practice tables with signups, you guys look at your robot schedule, and maybe go grab a couple signups after your scheduled run, right? So grab a practice session after your scheduled run, so you can test on a practice table or make changes after your competition run is over. That way you already have your spots locked down. So.
Eric, I've emailed you that form. Let me know if you've gotten it or not.
I can check when I get off here. Thanks.
That sounds good. Fine.
And Eric, I asked the person in charge of concessions to send you the menu or whatever for the day.
Okay, great.
I asked him to do it tonight, so hopefully you'll get it before you send stuff out.
Yeah, if not, I'll do another follow-up email. But
I told him that.
No, I will definitely try to get the majority of information out tonight. And I think it'll be that'll be great. And I know you emailed me on what time for judges it opens. I'll email you back on that.
Yeah, I did put in the Slack chat for the coaches as well that we're in big need of coaches of judges and referees yet for Marquette. So if you're interested,
we did have a couple applicants come in. So and I've heard of some rumors, but yeah, we are definitely looking for, and I do encourage coaches to become part of the program. And obviously if your team's not competing, definitely sign up to be a referee or a judge. It's very rewarding, and you get to learn how the back end process works, and it's good.
So you guys are free to ask any other general judging questions or robot game questions as well. Unless you guys don't have any questions, in which case we'll keep Eric on the spot.
All good.
I had another tournament question. Is it sound like most parents are there all day with their student, or is that not in general what teams do?
My experience has been teams are there the entire day. Most teams don't. It's not uncommon for someone to send someone to go run and get food or do something like that. But normally teams will be there the entire day. Judging was a little different years ago where in the pit, the judges came around. That's not the case how they do it anymore. Actually, pit judging is no longer part of the program. So that does change the dynamic a little bit, but so it's but most teams at this point historically go up in the morning and stick it out through the day.
So if that was a spectator question instead of a team question,
Yeah, that's what I heard.
it really kind of it depends on what the people need to do and want to do.
Sorry.
That kind of runs the gamut. There's a lot of parents that stick around all day. There's some that come and go. There's some that don't show up. It's typical kind of wide range on that. If the question was really it was more of a spectator question. If it was the team question, then go with Eric's answer.
Yeah, no,
we would.
spectators
Go ahead.
coming. Yeah.
We would usually field 2 teams, and roughly there'd be 3 or 4 parent groups. So you'd have maybe 8 or 10 spectators come along with the kids, and they generally stay all day. So I don't think I'd say that all parents always come and stay all day, but like I said, and that may be different now as well. We used to have grandparents that they would come a lot just to watch the robot games, but now robot games are throughout the day, so it's a little bit different than what it used to be.
Yeah, they may come and go. I mean, the
Mhm.
dynamic will be a little bit different,
Yep.
but people figure it out.
We do have space for parents to our commons area. It's kind of outside of the pit area, so you can sit there and drink your coffee and visit core and get something to eat. A lot of parents do kind of do that. And we'll have a set of bleachers down in the gymnasium or pit area, so that allows for seating there for non-participants or visitors, or teams as well. But that's just kind of general seating in the pit area on one side of the gym when we open up.
When lunch isn't going on, down in concessions is a quieter area. So if you do need a quiet area, that's a little bit quieter spot to be. The field house or gym can be kind of noisy with a lot of people in it, and it's exciting.
I suppose that the parents still be allowed into the room with the kids for the innovation project, about sign presentation, all that.
So I'll answer for Marquette. Yes, we are allowing visitors in. The actual judges will decide if there's a limitation on that in the rooms. I know Brian is our judge advisor, so usually there's enough room, but there is a limitation in the space in the rooms. So obviously priority goes to the team and the coaches and the judges, but we do usually allow for visitors as well.
Hey Dan, how's it going?
Good, yourself?
Good. You called Eric here, so if you got any questions about Marquette, he's here specifically.
I know I'm coming in late, so I'm sure this probably got asked. How many teams do we have for this weekend?
We have 23 teams on Saturday and 22 teams on Sunday.
Excellent.
I thought it was actually 23 both days, but I realized yesterday it's not. So
Excellent.
So it's actually a smaller tournament than we've done in the past. Some of our larger tournaments were up to 40 teams, and that can get a little crazy. But 23 is a good size.
Yeah, we've been there for 36 a number of times, and that's manageable, but a long day.
It's going to be a long day.
And at Lakeshore, we have 30 on Saturday and 12 on Sunday for Lakeshore. And Madison has, I think it's about 20 on Saturday. So.
All right, any more specific questions that you guys have? Or general questions, judging, reffing, how the day goes? Okay.
Will they judge on the robot table using the app or paper for the points?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Sometimes we don't know how many points we need only later.
So we at Marquette typically, and we plan on, we're already setting it up, to use the FLL tournament software. So scores should be available. You guys by now know how to look those up, or we'll give you a refresher on the day if you want. They are normally up right after they're done with the table. So,
Yeah, it would be the same for the others because you'll be the one at Franklin.
so Franklin, probably Franklin. We'll have to talk to. So they're next week. So I'm repping there too. So I think that the goal. We'll talk to Josh, but I think the plan is to have FL tournament software there too.
Yeah.
FL tournament will be used at Franklin.
Perfect.
Need to confirm with Josh
Right.
that the refs will have tablets at the tables, though.
Cool.
It's good to know so that kids get familiar with whatever it's paper or the app
Yeah.
for hand.
I mean, that's always my preference. If we can, anytime we can do that, I like using that. I mean, we always have paper as a backup. So far it's held up pretty well for us.
When you use the app, is there ever, like we used to get the paper copy back at the end? Is there ever anything paper copy that they get back anymore?
So after the tournament, after we close out the tournament, I have tried, and I will admit that I have forgotten once or twice, but I do try to go in after we close the tournament and send out the scores. And I believe the judges' comments and stuff come out with that.
Well, we're not actually doing judging in there, so those won't come out.
Sorry. Okay. My bad. So yeah, we'll send score sheets out. And if I don't remember, Peggy, just remind me. So
Okay.
it's just a simple. Once it's closed, it's just a form. You just go in there and say send out scores.
Okay. I just know last year there was some that we couldn't figure out the scoring that we added up compared to what it came out wasn't the same, and we didn't know. We're just curious what was different, and we never could figure it out. So
So yeah, they should have it, right after their round. If you're in a tournament that's using the software, it should be up within. I mean, it's instant. After it's signed, it just refreshes. So, yeah. Anything else, guys?
One other question is there was a note in our tournament email, like instructions if we need to load in items. I was just wondering if there's general things we should be planning to bring besides our robots.
So generally, you'll bring your project boards and anything you want to have in your pit area, anything for judging. Your robots, obviously.
Laptop.
Yep.
Attachments. Some teams bring in extra parts in case they want to build something. Downloading through a cable is what we'd recommend. I wouldn't do Bluetooth at the event.
Right.
So all those things, the charger for your laptop, charger for your robot.
And I'll take the second to remind the teams while we're here. So the teams are not allowed to bring their iPad or their laptop with them to the competition tables. So we did have last week a team that didn't know how to load programming onto their Spike Prime. So make sure you guys know how to do that. Don't plan on bringing your laptops or your tablets to the competition tables.
So you can have them in the pit, you just can't take them to the competition table.
And that team actually, so I mean, I'll share kind of the journey there for that team. They actually learned a lot. So the first round, they came up with a tablet, and we advised them they weren't allowed to run with a tablet. I wasn't the head ref at the tournament. They did let them run the round as a practice round. So we had to make an announcement that, this is what's going on. You're not allowed to do this. They're going to get 0 for the round. The team went back to the pit area, and another team helped them learn how to load their software on. So they did have a good learning experience in the end. And then, obviously on the next rounds, we let the audience know as well that they are not running from a laptop and they have successfully loaded their software on or their programs on. So it was a good learning experience for them.
Will the competition tables be open during any time for any tasks? But sometimes they gotta calibrate color sensor, things like that, lighting change.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit tight because we're really reffing all day. I think the first matches are 8:30, something like that. So depending on how, I haven't seen the finalized schedule yet. I'm sure once Eric gets it out, if we can fit something in, maybe we'll try to do it. But I would plan on taking a minute to calibrate your sensors at the table before your run.
Yeah, right. But general calibrate would use the laptop that you can't take right before meeting,
so-
right? So that's why I was asking if you can do that.
I would not plan on having practice sessions on the competition tables. I don't know if the schedule is going to allow that. I understand what you're saying. We used to allow, 15 minutes before the round, whatever, before that was when all the robot games were in the afternoons. So I'm not sure the schedule's going to allow for that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think that's going to be possible this year.
I mean, you can have
is that it?
calibration programs on your robot. You don't have to do it from your laptop. I'm not telling you guys how to do your stuff. I'm just letting you know that that option is out there. They may have to just research how to calibrate their sensors on the robot.
Yeah, that's good to know, but that's something to.
Yeah, I get it. I
Be ready
know what you're
for.
saying, and absolutely. I mean, everybody wants to calibrate their light sensors on the table that they're running. I 100% understand what you're saying. So I'm not trying to dismiss your question there, but I just don't know that the time's going to allow.
Don't know how much time you have prior for
Yeah.
us to start, so in between, because it's like 30 seconds. Yeah, we can how much time to actually
Oh.
with calibration.
If you need to calibrate, we'll make sure you get to calibrate.
Okay.
But I mean, we're not going to take minutes to do it, but if you guys just need to run a 30-second calibration, we'll figure
Oh.
something out.
Every team will have at least, about an hour between robot rounds. So unlike last year where rounds were right after another, you'll have some time to iterate and test, not on the competition
Right.
table.
I think that's his
Yeah.
specific question, is calibrating on their competition table for the lights.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
because last year we had like 15, 20 minutes on the table prior to the
understood.
run, right?
Yeah.
Usually that's what happens.
I get
Yeah,
it.
so that's last year was an exception that way. Remember, you did all that practice. You had that 15 minutes between matches, and you pretty much got
Right.
to stay on the competition table the whole time. We might
Right.
flip you to a different one. That we're going back to the older thing where
Whole
we're running
time.
everybody's here all day. We're running matches. Now we're actually still running matches all day, but they're still running them. You have an hour now between start to start. But I think I'm hearing Jay say that if you just need 30 seconds or a minute earlier before everything gets started to go calibrate and then get off the table, before matches start, I think he's saying that they'll try to make that happen for you.
I mean, if you tell us you have to calibrate, I mean, we'll do what we have to do. I mean,
I'd say hit them up early though. Don't show up right at your match. Talk to them before try and get in with the refs before they even really start queuing teams for that set of matches.
And your team should be practicing this as part of getting ready for the tournament, that when they come up to the table, they'll be going through inspection, making sure all their equipment fits in one of the launch areas or both of them if they have too much equipment to fit in one. And then, through that setup period, they'll have an opportunity to take the robot, and teams will set it out on the field over a white area, take a light reading, set it over a black area, take a light reading, and then the robot's moved into the launch area and set up for its first launch. So it's generally a fairly quick process.
I guess the only hitch you guys might have is, bringing the laptop to the table, so that you're
Right,
not
that
going to have
wouldn't be
time to do
allowed.
that. So, the problem is, it's not a problem. I actually like it, but we're reffing all day, so there's not going to be that morning. We start reffing at noon or 1. We start reffing at 8:30 or whatever time the first match is. So, you know, there's just not that 3 or 4 hour window in the morning to get all the teams practicing on the competition table. So yeah, we'll get you a couple minutes to get your sensors calibrated and stuff, but
Okay.
definitely load that onto your robot. And if you guys don't know how to do that, and this isn't specifically addressed to you, but anybody else that will be watching the video, maybe ask on Slack or ask a mentoring team or something like that. It's pretty common. It's pretty common for teams to have that ability to do it. So.
So am I correct with the new format? There is no table judging, correct? Like there were in many years ago.
So the pit, when the judges came to the pits, okay, that is no longer part of the process. Okay, there are judges that are still interested in coming out and visiting the teams, but it would not be considered part of the judging process.
Okay. Oh, I have one other random robot game question. It turns out we're not going to do this. We thought about it and then didn't, but I just want to make sure this would be legal. Say you are launching from the red launch area. Could you have a jig sitting in the blue launch area?
Sure. The home area is your area.
Yeah. Okay. So to make sure you can have things in both of them. It's while the robot's running.
Sure.
We may still figure out a way to that helps us, but just wanted to make sure.
So I mean, if you guys want to touch on jigs for a second, we can do that. Just because there's been questions about it in the past, we haven't had a lot of questions about it, but I did see quite a few teams in Appleton this past week. They pretty much all understood how where the jigs can go, as far as you can have them in the launch area. They can extend over into the home area, which is on the left and right sides of your launch circle. The one thing they weren't understanding is that you're not allowed to hold the jig when you launch. Okay. So that's the one thing I'll share with you guys about the jigs. You can
move.
Go ahead.
But you can move the jig once the robot launches, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes in the past that was not allowed.
Yep. And I guess what I want to clarify as well is you also don't have to pick the jig back up. You can put the jig down, line your robot up, and then launch the robot. You don't have to move the jig out of the way once it's lined up. It can stay there. You understand what I'm saying? Remember how the one year you had to actually pick the jig up? You couldn't launch it with the jig, so you don't have to do that this year. But I just wanted to share with a couple of things I saw last week. It wasn't a huge tournament, but there was a couple of things that I did see teams doing.
But you can touch the jig once the robot launches, right? So once the robot leaves the launch area, that area you can touch whatever it's there, right?
Yeah. So the home area is your area. So once the robot's launched, and you can move anything around you want in there, any of your stuff,
including the launch area.
Including the launch area.
Yeah.
Remember that the launch areas are your home area. They're just launch area during launch. As soon as it's launched, it's part of your home area as well. Oh, another thing I'll share with you guys. Did we lose somebody? Looked like the screen just changed for me. Oh, we're good. I'll share with you guys as well that the height limitation is for your inspection only. So you don't have a height limitation on launch. Once you're inspected, you don't have a 12-inch height limitation anymore.
And another question, let's say that when we're doing some of the missions, one of the energy units just drive by to the home area. So before it stops, can you grab the unit or
when
do you need to wait to a stop and then you can actually pick it up?
so when it's all the way in the home area, you mean? Like it's rolling and it gets in and it's all the way in the
Right.
home area? I'm gonna read the rule to myself here in a second, but I think in general, once it's in the home area, you can grab it. I think there is something that says allow it to stop moving, and Jeff probably is thinking, yeah, that's what it says. But Jeff, I don't think there's a problem with as soon as it's all the way in home, they can grab it, right? Even if it's still in motion.
Yeah, I think that was a
I
big
would
question
say so.
last year
Yeah.
with the helicopter, that you need to wait that thing to go to a stop before you fetch.
Yeah, I get it, and that's kind of I had something in my head like that too. But I think in general, no, not in general, but when something's in your home area completely, you can touch it.
Yep.
I mean, I look at it
go in
even
and
more simple than
outside.
that. You can touch the robot at any time, no matter where it is, and it's an interruption. And then we look at where the robot is. The robot's completely in home. There's no loss of precision token.
I think he was asking about an energy unit rolling into home.
Oh, sorry. I
So the energy
misunderstood. I thought it was-
unit is still in motion. It's all the way in home. They can swipe it up at that point. Like they don't have to wait for it to hit the wall and bounce off and stop moving, right? That's kind of what I was looking for. I know something says wait for it to stop moving, but I'll look for that while we're chatting here.
Oh yeah, there is that rule.
So what I'm looking at, it says if a piece of equipment or a mission model is dropped or left outside home, wait for it to come to rest. Okay. I don't see anything that says.
Right. If it's completely inside home, I don't see an issue with
Right.
interacting with it.
Yep. I don't either.
Okay.
Can I ask what the call is if it rolls into home and either hits one of the kids, attachment, their robot, their hand, whatever, and bounces back outside of home, but it was clearly in home? What's the call on that?
Nope. If it's out, it's out.
If their hand hit it in home and it goes back out, it's out?
Well, no, if the object rolled into home and now it's in home and it bounces out for some reason, that violates the rule that the team is not allowed to send anything out onto the field by hand. And so that object would just have to go back to home and the team gets to keep it.
Okay. Every once in a while, those things run wild a little bit.
And do they lose that token for that?
No.
Okay.
No, the tokens are only lost for interrupting the robot when it is not completely inside of the home area. And then there's also a rule now that if there is a mission model that's partway, or sorry, I should get the exact wording, but if there is actually, I think it's the same rule Jay was just reading. Yes, if a mission model or equipment comes to rest partly in home, partly out of home, it stays as is unless the robot changes it. Alternatively, at any time, the technicians may remove it by hand. If the object removed by hand was a mission model, it must be given to the referee for the remainder of the match. If the object was equipment, it must be taken into that home area and the team will lose one precision token. So the only time precision tokens are lost is equipment that is stranded partially in and out. If they want to get that out of the way, they'll lose a precision token, or if the robot itself is not completely in home when it's interrupted. Otherwise, there's no loss. I mean, there can be rule violations, but generally the referee will then attempt to stop or undo the violation of the rule. So if a kid has something in their hand and it ends up out on the field, the referee will move it back into home and tell the team they shouldn't be pushing stuff out onto the field by hand. But there's no penalty to the team besides the referee undoing what they just did.
So I think I heard Peggy say if like the energy unit rolls in, it hits an attachment and rolls back out. So is that what you said, Peggy? Because I don't think that would count as the
We've had it
technician
hit
launching.
different, you know, it kind of depends whether it's their hand, if they have something setting there, or, I mean, it's kind of varied
Oh, okay. I thought you
where
said
it rolls and
okay. Because I see that as two
I
different
heard
things.
I heard hitting a kid's hand,
Oh,
and that would
because that's two different things. If it hits a kid's hand, then that's different than if it hits an attachment and belts. It'd be like if it hits the wall and rolls back out. Right?
so it also, I guess, depends if the kid is touching the attachment when it hits it, then is that like an extension of their hand because
Right. I get, yeah.
Yep.
If the energy falls out of the back of the wind turbine and into base, can we pick it up? If it's all the way in home, you can pick it up. And we'll share, I guess that's one more thing we'll share with you guys. So at this point, we've seen quite a few of you guys sending the videos in with the wind turbine sticking. We've observed, I have seen it now myself dozens of times on many tables. I've activated the model myself multiple dozens of times, and we do know that there is a random sticking issue with the wind turbines. So I'm going to try to get a hold of at least all the head refs so they can kind of share the information down on what to look for and how, making sure that's being activated before mission model failure is being called. But that's definitely going to be a thing. So we have seen it. Jeff has seen it. I saw it. Eric saw it. So we know it's an issue. We've seen it in action. We'll make the right call for you guys. So
as long as
sorry, go ahead.
Maybe decide by the referees what's happened if the kids get the credit or not. That's what me.
Can you repeat your question one more time, please?
So if it sticks and the kids are actually doing the mission properly and thing doesn't roll, so that would be up to the referee to decide if the kids will get the credit, if the team will get the credit or not.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I think I feel pretty confident that I know how the model activates and when it should be falling out. As long as we're not slamming into it. If it's a controlled function and they're pushing the thing and it's not coming out how I think it should be coming out, then they'll get mission model failure on it.
Yeah.
They do still need to continue, they need to do the mission, right? So we're not going to, if they're not hitting that thing 3 times, there's no way we're going to give them all 3 units. But, I'm pretty confident that I've seen it enough times to know when it should be coming out when it's working properly. We'll try to share all that information down with the other referees.
did you see anything with the, I want to call it the oil rig? I don't know if it's just been a fluke on our team that sometimes, well, we've had them where they roll down the little ramp and they actually have bounced right off and landed into home. So, the kids were able to grab them there. Or, like they don't necessarily roll fully into the truck and they kind of sit on that back end of the truck. I don't know if it was a fluke on ours or if that's happening or.
So I didn't, Peggy, and I was specifically looking. I saw that fail a couple times, but it wasn't a mission model failure. It was a setup failure on our behalf. Because when you put that little ramp into the back of the truck, and I'm not saying it's not happening with you, I'm just saying the matches that I've seen and in practice, I haven't seen that happen. When it didn't go into the truck that I've observed, it was the little ramp wasn't all the way set up properly. So.
Is that something that the kids should just make sure they're checking before it starts, or if that's set up improperly, is that something that?
Well, I mean, just like all the time, we always encourage the kids to look over the table because we will miss things. I mean, we will. There's no question about it. We're setting this up many, many times, and even when we are looking over the table, the referees are looking over the table, the table resetters are looking it over. We could get behind, get in a rush and overlook something. So it happens all the time. You guys have been in enough tournaments, but they should be looking at any models that, especially ones that any missions that they attempt specifically. I would definitely have them look over that and say, hey, can you check that? Or this doesn't set properly.
Do you have, I know there's a little bit of slack, and maybe I should check our model closer because maybe it's just the problem with our model, but that those wheels can roll a little bit. So the truck actually has, I don't know if it's up to like maybe a 1/4 inch difference.
I didn't see that on my. So you're talking the truck itself rolling?
Yeah, like you know, you put the back wheels over that little axle that's there, but there's space. Maybe we are working on a table now that we have to take up and down and up and down. So maybe something has come loose. Maybe that's
So we
what's
did.
going on. But
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. So we did have to pick up I think the oil model one time and set it back properly on the lines. It wasn't, the initial setup wasn't exactly right and it was a little bit off, but other than that I really didn't see anything there. And again, I'm not saying you're not having that issue. I just have not observed that. So I mean, I try whenever I go to a tournament, I try to make sure the models are placed as, you know, accurately as possible. But, you know, sometimes it happens that a robot will knock a model off its dual lock and it doesn't get set back exactly right, or, you know. Kids are pretty good at checking that stuff too. I'm trying to remember if there was anything I said to myself that I wanted to share with you guys. I think I've gotten out all the things I made mental notes of. So.
Jay, this is Eric. I'm just going to need to drop out. I got to get to work.
All right, thanks, bud.
All right, thank you.
See ya.
Any other questions from anybody? Okay, well, thank you all for attending, and make sure you let us know if there are any other questions through Slack or through email. And best of luck to all your teams in the upcoming tournaments.
We'll see you Sunday. Thank
All right,
you.
see you, Dan.
Good
Yeah.
luck
Good luck.
Bye, guys.
and have fun.
Yes.